Today's topic is DNA fingerprinting, which is the last topic of the chapter. DNA fingerprinting. As you must have heard of hand fingerprinting, that is different in different individuals. Same here, on the basis of DNA, we have differences among individuals. So as in case of hand fingerprint, we can use to detect criminals. Here also, from DNA profile, we can detect criminals on the basis of their DNA fingerprint. So what is DNA fingerprinting? It is, or DNA profiling. It's a method of comparing and identifying DNA samples. And what is the samples that we take? Certain, not the entire DNA. That will be difficult. So what is taken and what is different will be repetitive sequences, which we said earlier, certain sequences which are repeated many times and are called as mini satellites or variable number tandem repeats, VNTR. And this vary from person to person except for in the monozygotic twins. And since these mini satellites show high degree of polymorphism in what? Where they are located in number, how many times they are repeated, where the repetition is there, and therefore these act as genetic markers in DNA fingerprinting. Now, DNA polymorphism, that is variations of DNA. Polymorphism means variations at the genetic level, and obviously these variations will arise due to mutation. And if you recall, in Human Genome Project we said 99.9% of base sequences are same. So how much is different? Only 0.1% of genome or 3 million base pairs differences occur in the base sequence of human beings. And the differences not only occur in the genes but also in repetitive DNA. What is repetitive DNA? Repetitive DNA is just some base sequences, small stretches of DNA which are repeated many times throughout a genome. And when we do fragmentation of this DNA, that means when we cut the DNA using restriction endonuclease, the enzyme restriction endonuclease, and when we subject that fragmented DNA to density gradient centrifugation, what do we find? That these repetitive sequences, because of their similar sequences, they separate out from the bulk genome, from the bulk DNA, and these repetitive sequences form different minor peaks, whereas the bulk genome forms a major peak in density gradient centrifugation. So we said just now the bulk DNA forms a major peak and the short tandem repeats. Tandem means in a straight line, repeats means repeated many times, form other small peaks which are, therefore these are referred to as satellite DNA. And satellite, from the word satellite, revolving around, so around the astral bodies, so you have the satellites revolving around the planets. So here also, since the small peaks are near the major peak of the bulk genome, so therefore they are referred to as satellite DNA. And these sequences, that means these repetitive sequences or the satellite DNA, they are non-coding DNA, that means they do not code for any RNA or proteins. Now depending upon the base composition, length of the segment, how long it is, and how many repetitive units are at one place, the satellite DNA is classified into many categories such as microsatellites and mini satellites. Major difference is microsatellites are very short. So therefore these are also referred to as short tandem repeats. Tandem means in a straight line, STR as the abbreviation, or simply or simple sequence repeats, SSR. And these are very short because they are less than 10 base pairs. Generally 1 to 6 base pair repeats, occurring 5 to 50 times, meaning that at one place these repeats, which will be less than 10, they can occur 5 times, in one DNA, they can occur 10 times at one place, they can occur 50 times at one place. So typically they can occur 5 to 50 times, and obviously they are located, such repeats you will find at thousands of positions within the genome. Like for example, you have GTC repeats. So how it is different in different individual? Number of repeats. How many times it's repeated at one place in a particular DNA. There lies the difference. Mini satellites, also called as variable number tandem repeats, VNTR. Variable because they are variable in different individuals in number, where the variation lies in number. Tandem means in straight line repeats. That's why these are called as VNTR. What are there? Short repeats, but their size is more, from 0.1 to 20 kilobases. That means from 10 to more than 10 base pairs to 20,000 base pairs it will occur, and this also occurs at thousands of locations within the human genome. They have very high mutation rate, and that is why they show high diversity. That means in different individuals there will be diversity there. That means it shows high degree of polymorphism. Polymorphism means variations. And these mini satellites, I said just now, they are non-coding DNA. That means they do not code for any proteins, and therefore but they act as regulators of gene expression, or are parts of the telomeres ends, that is the ends of the chromosomes, which we said are telomeres. They contain repetitive sequences, and since they show high degree of polymorphism, they are used in DNA fingerprinting. Now coming to the main part, that is the technique of DNA fingerprinting. This technique was developed by a British genetist, Alec Jeffreys, 1984, and what he used as genetic markers was these mini satellites, which he used as genetic markers. Why? Because they show high degree of polymorphism. That means these mini satellites vary from individual to individual. What are the steps? First step, what do we need? Is DNA. So first step is extraction of DNA. Now from the scene of the crime, suppose we have to we find there are some blood there, there can be some semen there, or hair follicle there, or skin, or saliva, anything, or from any individual we can isolate DNA from the cells, either from the blood, semen, saliva, hair follicles, skin, etc. So take these cells either from the scene of crime or from an individual, and then we are going to isolate the DNA by high speed refrigerated ultracentrifugation. By ultracentrifugation, that is going to break open the nuclei, and the DNA will come out along with other components that are found in a cell. So but what we want is only pure DNA, so we are going to treat them with enzymes to remove unwanted components such as lipids. We are going to treat it with lipase, enzyme lipase, carbohydrates, the enzyme amylase, proteins, proteases, RNA, RNase, and finally what we get is pure DNA. Next step, amplification. Amplification means making many copies. If the amount of DNA in a sample is small, suppose in the scene of crime we get a little amount of blood only, and the cells, that is the WBCs, we extract the DNA from there, but the amount of DNA is very small, we can amplify it. That means make many copies of it by a very simple technique which you are going to study later on in the chapter biotechnology, that is polymerase chain reaction, short form PCR. And by this technique we can produce numerous copies of the DNA. Now the DNA molecule is very long, so what we are going to do is cut into fragments. So third step is restriction digestion. So that DNA is cut into fragments, again with the help of the same enzyme which we have talked about, that is restriction endonuclease. And this restriction endonuclease cuts the DNA at specific sites. It recognizes a specific base sequence on the DNA, attaches to it and cut at specific sites. So obviously this is going to produce different lengths of the DNA sequence when they cut at the restriction sites. What are the restriction sites? The base sequence recognized by the restriction endonuclease where they are going to cut the DNA, that too at specific sites. Again, this will be much more clearer in the chapter of biotechnology. And since we will get different lengths of DNA in different individuals when we use the same restriction endonuclease, so that is going to produce variations based on the restriction sites present on different individuals in their DNA. So this is another form of polymorphism, what we call as restriction fragment length polymorphism. Restriction because we've used the enzyme restriction endonuclease. Fragment length, that means the length of the DNA fragments will vary. Polymorphism means variations. Short form that we refer to as RFLP. Fourth step now. Now we have what do we have? We have just our fragments of DNA with us. How are we going to separate these fragments? So we are going to use a technique what we call as agarose gel electrophoresis. So this is a technique in which there is a gel, a box like thing which has a gel, agarose gel in it, and on one side you have wells. That means you have spaces where we are going to put the sample of DNA, these fragments of DNA where we are going to put, attach it to the two electrodes, pass electricity, and since DNA is negatively charged, it will move towards the positive anode. And since its size are different, obviously smaller fragments will move faster through that gel and the larger ones will be left behind. So this agarose gel electrophoresis separates the fragments of the DNA according to size. Again, this will be dealt in more detail in the chapter of biotechnology. Now, we have separated the DNA according to size, but DNA is transparent, it is not visual. You cannot even see whether the fragments have separated or not. Now how will we make them visual? We'll stain these fragments with a dye, what is that called as Ethidium bromide, and put the gel electrophoresis apparatus under UV radiation, and under UV radiation they are going to fluorescence and appear as orange bands, and that's how we'll come to know that the DNA fragments have separated. Next step, that is referred to as Southern blotting. Southern blotting, why? Because this technique was invented by EM Southern, that's why it is called as Southern blotting. A very simple technique. We have the separated DNA fragments on the agarose gel. On top of it we are going to put is a nitrocellulose sheet or a nylon membrane over the gel, and for pressure, so that for applying gentle pressure we are going to put stacks of paper towels. The moisture of the gels will be absorbed by these towels and the DNA fragments will get attached to these nylon membrane or the nitrocellulose membrane. So this is called as Southern blotting. Simply transfer of the DNA fragment to a nitrocellulose sheet. That is referred to as Southern blotting. Now we have the nitrocellulose sheet with DNA fragments on it, but these DNA fragments are double stranded. So next step, that is 6, denaturation of the DNA strands. Denaturation means separation of the DNA strands as single strands. So these nitrocellulose sheets which has the DNA fragments on it will be soaked in either in an alkali like sodium hydroxide or an acid that is going to break the bonds in between and make the DNA fragments as single strands. Now we have the nitrocellulose sheets with single stranded DNA on it. Next step, is hybridization. Now hybridization, that means binding, making a double strand. What are we going to use? DNA again, but we are going to use what we call as a DNA probe. What will be a probe? It will be a single stranded DNA complementary to the desired VNTR, any VNTR. Suppose let's take the simple example like I gave GTC. You want to see where GTC is present, that's our VNTR. So we are going to make a complementary DNA sequence, synthetic. We are going to make it ourselves. So what will be the sequence there? GTC is our VNTR. So for G we are going to put is C, T, A, GTC, C, G. So that will be our single stranded DNA probe, complementary to the desired VNTR, any VNTR we have in mind. And how to make it visible? We'll make it radioactive. And now these probes will get attached to the single stranded VNTR. So wherever they have complementary sequences, these probes will get attached to the DNA fragments. When we place the nitrocellulose sheet and probe in a glass tube or in a polythene pack in an oven at a 65 degrees for an hour or two. So at that time what is going to happen? These probes will migrate through the nitrocellulose sheet and will get attached to the single stranded DNA fragments, and wherever they find complementary sequences they are going to attach there and form double stranded DNA. So these wherever we have these double stranded DNA, what will be where we have the probes attached to the DNA sequences here, what those double stranded DNA, what they will be? They will be radioactive. So what will be radioactive? Only our VNTR, because we are making probes, DNA probes complementary to our desired VNTR. So when these two bind together, only these regions of the double stranded DNA will become radioactive. Rest of the fragments, that means the single stranded fragments, will be non-radioactive. Then the nitrocellulose sheet is rinsed, washed to remove unattached probe. Last, that is autoradiography. Now we have the nylon membrane containing radioactive DNA probes hybridized with our VNTR. Now when these are exposed, kept next to an X-ray film, because these are radioactive, these radiations will strike against the X-ray film and they are going to appear as dark bands. The hybridized radioactive VNTR will appear as dark bands. And then our X-ray film will give us the DNA fingerprint or the DNA profile. So this DNA fingerprint we can take and compare with another fingerprint and find whether there is any relationship or not, how much is similar, how much is not. So that is how we do the technique of DNA fingerprinting. So this is in short form. This is the blood in a diagrammatic picture. This is a blood sample. We have isolated the DNA, like suppose from the white WBC. This is a long DNA. We'll mix it with the enzyme restriction endonuclease to obtain DNA fragments. Now we are going to separate these DNA fragments. If the amount of DNA we said is very small, we can go for amplification by using PCR, polymerase chain reaction. By this we can get many copies of the DNA. Now these, how do we separate these DNA fragments? Because they are of different lengths. So we are going to load them on an agarose gel. So this is the equipment that we use. These are the places where we are going to load our DNA fragments. This is agarose gel here, and we are going to attach this to the two electrodes. So this will be negative pole, this will be the positive pole, and we apply charge. DNA being negatively charged will move towards the positive end. And since their DNA fragments are of different lengths, small fragments will move faster, larger fragments will be left behind, and as a result we are going to separate the DNA according to size. Now next, now we said is, now we have separated southern blotting. Here we are showing the DNA band. This is the nylon sheath or the nitrocellulose sheath, which we are going to place over the gel. Stack it with paper towels for gentle pressure. Paper towels is going to absorb the moisture from the gel, and as a result the separated bands, DNA bands, will get attached to this nitrocellulose sheath. Now this is soaked in NaOH or acid to denature the DNA, so that now we get single stranded DNA on a nitrocellulose sheet or a nylon membrane. Now we are going to expose this, keep it next to an X-ray film, X-ray photographic sheet. Place it over the membrane. Because we are going to use will be the DNA probes. The DNA probes will get attached wherever they have complementary sequence here on the separated single stranded DNA and form double stranded DNA. So wherever we have double stranded DNA formed, they will be what? Radioactive. So then when we expose it to an X-ray photographic sheet, the radioactive regions, that means only of the double stranded DNA where we have probes attached with our desired VNTR, that will create a band here. The radioactive activity will strike, atoms are going to strike here and form a band. So this will give us a DNA fingerprint or a DNA profile, and this we can take from two individuals if we have to establish relationship, or from the scene of crime if we get a slight blood, and we'll take the DNA from a suspect and then we can establish a relationship between the two. So this is how we do DNA fingerprinting. Technique of DNA fingerprinting. Now what are the applications of DNA fingerprinting? First, obviously, it is to identify criminals in a forensic lab. So you will get from the scene of the crime, we can get DNA either from the blood or skin or hair follicle, etc. And from a suspect, we'll get the DNA from there and match it. Create a DNA fingerprint and match it. Now, to identify the real parents, sometimes that is to identify the true biological father or mother in case of dispute. So there are many cases where the father claims that the child is not his, so that can be established by DNA fingerprinting. Now to identify victims of war and large scale disasters, like we had the tsunami some time back in the south where children got separated from their parents, and any child that was there, many parents used to come and claim for that child. How to solve this dispute? By DNA fingerprinting. Now another is to verify whether an immigrant is really a close relative of a mentioned resident, meaning that I want to go out and I have one of my relatives is already staying in that particular foreign country, and they want to verify, I claim that he is my relative, and they want to verify whether my claim is true or not. They will go for DNA fingerprinting, because there will be some similarity between that immigrant and his close relative. Now in case of pathology, it is also used for distinguishing donor cells from the recipient cells when a patient undergoes organ transplant, because at that time the organ transplanted is rejected by the body and their immune cells start destroying it. That the DNA of that foreign organ will be present in the blood, so the pathologist can see whether the destruction has started or not. They can distinguish the DNA from the donor cells, whether it's from the donor cells or from the recipient cells, and accordingly immunosuppressant drugs can be given, more dose can be given to suppress this rejection of an organ transplant. It's also used in human genome mapping project, like we said before in HGP, as genetic markers to identify the location and order of genes on the chromosome. And of course, it's used to determine population and genetic diversity, whether in animals, whether in human beings, to which race they belong, what was their origin, historical migration, all those things. And also in plants, we can determine the population and genetic diversities. So these are some applications of DNA fingerprinting which is often asked in your exam. So that's all about DNA fingerprinting. Thank you, and any questions you have, please text me. God bless you all.